A pleasant morning to all of us. Welcome for today's session. Our symposium for today is all about the teaching professionalization. We will emphasize the different act of teaching profession, together what are the importance of it. But before I present to you different powerful speakers, we're going to settle for the first part of our program by a doxology to be led to you by the Soul Sensation Choral Society to be followed by our Philippine National Anthem. Our first speaker is from the Sunshine City of Lawag. She is an international singer and also the grand winner of Idol Philippines 2018. She's currently part of the Philippine Madrigal Singer and also a master teacher from Ilocos Norte National High School. She will be tackling the decree professionalizing teaching. Please welcome Katrina Cassandra Bellio.
This decree shall be known as the Decree Professionalizing Teaching. It is hereby declared a policy that teacher education shall be given primary concern and attention by the government and shall be of the highest quality and strongly oriented to the Philippine conditions and to the needs and aspirations of the Filipino people, even as it seeks enrichment from adoptable ideas and practices of other people. As used in this decree, the following shall be constructed as follows. Teaching refers to the profession primarily concerned with the classroom instruction at the elementary and secondary levels in accordance with the curriculum prescribed by National Board of Education, whether on part-time or full-time basis in the public or private schools. Teachers refers to all persons engaged in teaching at the elementary and secondary levels, whether on a full-time or part-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational teachers, and all other persons performing supervisory and administrative functions in all schools in the aforesaid levels and legally qualified to practice teaching under this decree. That is all for the Decree Professionalizing Teaching.
Our second speaker will discuss the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act. He is a graduate from Mariano Marcos State University College of Teacher Education. He is now the head teacher of Bacarac Comprehensive National High School. Please welcome Johnson Dakuy.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, all the students who are here dreaming to become a teachers. I am blessed that you invite me to this symposium. So, I will discuss the Philippine Teachers Professionalizations Act of number 1994. So, what is this act all about? An act to strengthen the regulation and supervision of the practice of teaching in the Philippines and prescribing a licensure examinations for teachers and for the other purposes. In Article 1, short title, this act shall be known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. Section 2, Statement of the Policy. The state recognizes the vital role of the teacher in nation building and development through a responsible and literate citizenry. The main objective of Article 1, this act has been herein objectives. A. The promotion, development, and professionalization of teachers and the teaching profession. B. The supervision and regulations of the licensure examination. Article 1, Section 4. Definition of terms. Purpose of this act, the following term shall be meant. A. Teaching refers to the professions concerned primarily with classroom instructions at the elementary and secondary levels in accordance with the curriculum prescribed by the Department of Education. Culture and sports, whether on a part-time or full-time basis in the private or public schools. Another one is teachers, refers to all persons engaged in teaching at the elementary and secondary levels, whether a full-time or part-time basis, including industrial arts or vocational teachers and all other persons performing supervisory or administrative function in all schools in a four-head levels and qualified to practice teaching under this act. Another definition of term, C, board, refers to the board of professional teachers duly established and constituted under this act. Another is D, commission, refers to the Professional Regulations Commission. That is Article 1. Okay, the next one is Article 2, Board for Professional Teachers. Section 5, Creation and Compositions of the Board. The board is composed of 5 members, including chairman, the vice chairman, appointment the presidents of the Philippines from among the recommenders chosen by the commission. Section 6, Duties and Function of the board. The 2 most important duties of the board: prescribe and or adopt a code of ethical and professional standard for the practice of the teaching professions. Looking into the condition affecting the practice of the teaching professions, whenever necessary, adopt such measures as may deem proper for enhancement and maintenance of high professional and ethical standard of the profession. In Section 7, Term of Office. The member of the board shall hold office for the term of 3 years from the date they assume office. No person who has served of 2 consecutive terms shall be eligible for a reappointment. The chairman or any member shall take his oath or office prior to perform of his duties. Section 8, Qualification of Board Member. Each board member must be at the time of his appointment: A. Be a citizen or resident of the Philippines. B. Be at least 35 years old of age, of proven integrity and possessions of high moral values in his professional as well as professional conduct, and has not been convicted of any offensive involving moral turpitude. C. Be a holder of degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science in Education, and preferably a holder of Master or Doctorate degree in Education or their equivalent from universities, school, colleges, academy or institute duly constituted, recognized, and are accredited by the Philippines government. D. Be a professional teacher with a valid certificate of registration and a valid profession's license, save those members who shall compose the first board of the professional teachers. E. Has been a professional teacher in active practice of teaching professions for at least 10 years in elementary and secondary level. And F. Not be an official or member of the faculty of nor have pecuniary interest in any university, colleges, schools, or institutions conferring a bachelor degree in education or its equivalent for at least 3 years prior his appointment, and neither connected with a review center or with any group of association where review classes or lectures in preparation of licensure examinations are offered or conducted. Section 9, Compensation of the Board. In Section 10, Supervision of the Board and Custodian of its record. The Board shall be under the supervision and control of the Commission. In Section 11, Secretariat and Support Service. In Section 12, Removal of a Board Member. That is Article 2, Board of Professional Teachers. Another, Article 3, Examination and Registration. Section 13, Examination, Registration, and License required. Section 14, Scope of Examination. Examination for teachers, elementary levels, secondary levels, 2 parts. Professional Education, General Education, 3 parts. Professional Education, General Education Field of Specialization. Okay, Section 15, Qualification Requirements of Applicant. No applicant shall be admitted to take the examination unless on the date of filing of application he shall have complied with the following requirements. A citizen of the Philippines or an ally whose country has reciprocity with the Philippines in the practice of teaching profession. B. At least 18 years old of age. C. In good health and good reputation with high moral values. D. Has not been convicted by final judge by a court for an offense involving moral turpitude. E. Graduate of a school, college, or universities recognized by the government and possess the minimum education qualification. Section 16, Report of Result of Examination. Section 17, Insurance of Certificate of Registration and Professional License. The registrations of the professional teachers commence from the date he is enrolled in roster of professional teacher. Section 18, Oath before practice. Every registrant shall be required to take his professional oath before practicing as professional teacher. Section 19, Periodic Merit Examination of Teachers. Section 20, Failure to pass the merit examination. Section 21, Incentives. Section 22, Integration of the teaching profession. The teaching profession shall be integrated into one national organization which shall be recognized by the Board and the Commission as the one and only integrated and accredited association of professional teachers. Section 23, Revocation of the Certificate of Registration, suspension from the practice of teaching profession, and cancellation of temporary of special merit. Section 24, Registration by reciprocity. Section 25, Register of Professional Teacher. And last, Section 26, Registration and Exemption. Article 4, Provision relative to the practice of the teaching profession. Okay, we have Section 27, Inhibition against the practice of the teaching profession. No shall practice or offer to the practice of the teaching profession in the Philippines or be appointed as a teacher to any position calling for the teacher position without having previously obtained a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional license from the Commission. Section 28, Penal Provisions. If any person is practicing as a professional teacher with a valid certificate of registration or a valid license, he shall be fined with not less than 5,000 to 20,000 pesos or imprisoned of not less than 6 months or 5 years. Section 29, Appropriations. Section 30, Implementation Guidelines. Section 31, Transitory Provision. Section 32, Separability Clause. Section 33, Repealing Clause. And last, Section 34, Effectivity Clause. That will be all. For the aspiring teachers, this Republic Act Number 7836 of the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994 strengthened the supervisions and regulations of the practice of teaching in the Philippines. All teachers are required to take and pass the licensure exam for teachers. Thank you and God bless.
Our third speaker is from Dumalneg. She is an instrumentalist from Philippine musical theme and the owner of Tribeca Lawag. She is one of the grand finalists of Filipinas Got Talent and also joined Binibining Pilipinas 2017. She is currently teaching as a music teacher from Dumalneg National High School. Please welcome Yaren Beltran.
RA 9293, an act amending certain section of Republic Act Number 7836, known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act 1994. Objectives: be acquainted with the RA 9293, make out the important terms and its definition, identify the sections from the Act amending certain sections of RA 7836, distinguish the Senate Bill number, House Bill number, and the dates and the person it was passed and approved, the RA 9293. Provisions and Prohibitions. Republic Act Number 7836 is hereby amended as follows. Section 15, Qualification Requirements of Applicants. No applicant shall be admitted to take the examination unless on the date of filing of the application he shall have complied with the following requirements. A citizen of the Philippines. B. At least 18 years old of age. C. In good health and in good reputation with high moral values. D. Has not been convicted by final judgment by the court or an offense involving moral turpitude. E. A graduate of school, college, or university recognized by the government and possess the minimum educational qualification as follows. Important terms and definitions. Teaching refers to a profession concerned primarily with the classroom instruction at the elementary or secondary levels in accordance with the curriculum prescribed by the Department of the Education, whether on part-time or full-time basis in private or public schools. Section 26. Registration and Exception. 2 years after the effectivity of this Act, no person shall engage in teaching and or act as a professional teacher as defined in this Act, whether in the preschool, elementary, or secondary level, unless he is a duly registered professional teacher and a holder of a valid certificate of a registration and a valid professional license or a holder of a valid special and temporary permit. Upon approval of this application and the payment of the prescribed fees, the certificate of registration and the professional license as a professional teacher shall be issued without examination as required in this Act. Section 31. Transitory Provision. Special permits with the validity of 3 and 5 years issued to para-teachers by the Board of Professional Teachers before the effectivity of this Act shall be allowed to expire based on the period granted therein, provided the only special permits with the validity of 3 years may be renewed upon expiration for a non-extendable period of 2 years. Section 20. Failure to pass the merit examination. If a teacher fails to pass the merit examination, he or she shall be allowed to take the examination for the second time. Should he or she fail to pass the merit examination for the second time, then he and she shall be required to take the ECS accredited refresher course or a program before being allowed to retake the examination. Section 25. Roster of Professional Teachers. A roster of professional teachers containing the names and addresses of professional teachers, date of registration or insurance or certificate, and other data which in the opinion of the board may appear pertinent shall be maintained. Copies of the roster shall be provided by the Commission of the Board, the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, and the integrated and accredited organization of
Our next
professional
speaker is
teachers.
a fashion designer and a choreographer from Lawag City. He is the designer of our very own iconic Miss Universe 2018's wardrobe, Catriona Gray. He is currently the officer in charge of Ilocos Norte College of Arts and Trades and virtual artist teacher, pertaining and achieving different aspects of virtual arts. Please welcome Darrell Porazo Corpuz.
The Professional Ethics Introduction. Ethics is about making the right choice when faced with different options. It is the personal, organizational, and corporate behavior expected of a professional. Many would say that some banking professionals have not acted ethically. Such issues affected public confidence in the profession, and accountancy is keen to avoid the same thing happening. It would be impossible to write a single set of rules which would cover every single potentially difficult ethical situation. It would be enormous. Instead, accountants have a framework of fundamental principles which we use to guide us whenever we have an ethical dilemma. There are 5 fundamental principles: the integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, professional competence, and due care professional behavior. You may not think these rules apply to you, but after all, you are not qualified accountant yet. But they do. They apply to all, even the students. There is nothing to worry about. So long as you act ethically, all at times you will be fine. Remember the 5 fundamental principles to help you out.
She is one of the greatest pennies of the international group. She is an artist creating rhythmic melody and also a singer from a national group Serenata ni Ayat Choral Society. She is now a master teacher from the US National High School and she will be going to tackle about the code of conduct for professional teachers. Please welcome Zermaine Baginon.
Okay, I will discuss to you the Article 5 Teachers and the Profession of the Code of Ethics for the Professional Teachers. The Code of Conduct for Professional Teachers. This is pursuant to the provision of Paragraph E, Article 11 of the Republic Act No. 7836 or otherwise known as the Philippine Professionalization Act of 1994. Section number 1. Teachers shall all times be imbued with a spirit of professional loyalty, mutual confidence, and faith in one another, self-sacrifice for the common good, and full cooperation with colleagues when the best interests of the learners, the school, or the profession is at stake in any controversy. Teachers shall support one another. This means that as a professional teacher, you must be loyal to your profession. Since teaching is a noblest profession, you must have the mutual confidence with your colleagues. You must cooperate to your colleagues in terms or wellness or for the good side for your learners, especially in this time of pandemic. Cooperation and be helpful to your colleagues to uplift the learning level of your learners is really important in this time. Section 2. Teacher is not entitled to claim credit or work not of his own and shall give due credit to the work of others which he or she may use. This means that as a professional teacher, you are not entitled to claim any of the work that is not made by you. So you must give credits in everything that you used, especially in using slides. When you use slides, when you use the background of that PowerPoint slide, it is really important that you have to give credit, especially if it is just downloaded online. Or when you use some article of some research, it is really important to give credit and put the name of the author as your references for the specific lines or for that specific article. Claiming an author or claiming alliance that is not yours is a very crucial at the same time. A bad habit as a professional teacher. So always remember, teacher, that is everything that you use that is not owned and made by you. You must always give credits to the author. The Section 3. Before leaving his position, a teacher shall organize for whoever assumed the position such as record and other data are necessary to carry on the word. So for this article or for this section, in this Article 5, it is necessary for a teacher before leaving the specific designation or before leaving the specific position, he or she would really continue and finish all the records that he or she must done, and whoever assume the work, he must endorse it properly to have the remaining or the successor of that position will not be difficult for him or her to assume all of the tasks that he or she may have also as a professional teacher. When leaving one school from another, it is really important for you to really ask your admin or even ask permission that you would leave the school before transferring to another school for have a better contract of a service as well as your record as a professional teachers, because as what I have said, as a professional teachers, you must be a good role model in our community. Section 4. A teacher shall hold inviolate all confidential information concerning assured shapes in the school and shall not divulge to any one document which has not been officially released or removed records from the files without permission. So, as a teacher, you should take all documents, especially their grades, with all and at the most confidential. The grades of the student should not be posted in group chats that we have, or even have a screenshot and send it to a group of people. It's because that the grade is a very confidential grade, so you must have to PM them individually, or you have to give them personal message so that the student can have a sense of ownership for the specific grades, not just in terms of the grades but for all the documents in our program or even in the school that is needed, like for example for the form 137 or for the card of the student, or even for the report for the student. You must take all of that documents with utmost confidential, because those documents should be used only in the school, and all for the reports, and should not be transferred or should not go outside that specific school. Also, if there are records or there are some papers of soft copies of the syllabus or the same that is needed from one school to another, you should always ask permission to your program head, to your principal, or anyone who is superior to you. Section number 5. It should be the responsibility of every teacher to seek correctiveness for what he may appear to be unprofessional and unethical conduct of any associates. However, this may be done only if there is incontrovertible evidence for such conducts. So, teachers, this means that you as a teacher have a great responsibility to correct all of your colleagues if they do unprofessional behaviors or even unethical action towards the community or towards the society. You as a teacher have the responsibility to correct them to become a very good role model to the community, especially in your profession. As a teacher, just make sure everyone that all of your those things that you said to that colleagues who are unethical or unprofessional, that you have a valid evidence or every true evidence for such as conduct to validate how true or how good is that. Section number 6. A teacher may submit to the proper authorities any justifiable criticisms against an associate, preferably in writing without violating the right of an individual concerned. So, as a teacher, you may make a written letter to any justifiable criticism or any concern regarding your colleagues or regarding your associated. You must be done this formally to your authorities, not imposing any concern or any run in our social media accounts. The social media accounts will not really help you to serve or to answer of all your concern or criticism regarding that specific associated. The Instagram will just, or the messenger will just make it worse. Better to really write it on writing to the proper authorities that posting anyone. Please remind your teachers that anything that we click in our social media accounts, anything that we share would really reflect back to us as a professional teacher. So don't ever run, don't ever post any criticism without your social media accounts, because it would not really help you to solve that specific problems. Better to write a concern letter to the proper authorities. The section number 7. A teacher may apply for a vacant position for which he is qualified, provided that he respect the system of the selection on the basis of the merit and competence, provided further that all qualified candidates are given the opportunity to be considered. So, as a professional teacher, you may apply to any vacant position that you will be qualified. Just make sure that you will respect and you will follow the system of selection for that specific system or that specific school. It's because it is really important to respect all of those, especially when you are applying. Okay, so that is the 7th section of Article 5. The teachers and the profession of the Code of Ethics for the professional teachers.
Our next speaker is a teacher 3 from San Nicolas National High School Special Program in the Arts. He is a choreographer from San Nicolas and also a member of Indak Pilipinas, a great choreographer of Bangi in Tanok ni Ilocano Festival of Festivals. He will be discussing the Code of Conduct for public officials and employees. Please welcome Albritz Batoon.
An act establishing a code of conduct and ethical standards for public officials and employees to uphold the time-honored principle of public office being a public trust, granting incentives and rewards for exemplary service, enumerating prohibited acts and transactions, and providing penalties for violations thereof and for other purposes. Section 1. Title: This Act shall be known as the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. Section 2. Declaration of Policies. It is the policy of the state to promote a high standard of ethical in public service. Public officials and employees shall at all times be accountable to the people and shall discharge their duties with utmost responsibility, integrity, competence, and loyal act with patriotism and justice, lead modest life, and uphold in public interest over personal interest. Section 3. Definition of terms. As used in this act, the term government includes the national government, the local governments, and all other instrumentalities, agencies, or branches of the Republic of the Philippines, including government-owned or controlled corporations and their subsidiaries. B. Public officials includes elective and appointive officials and employees, permanent or temporary, whether in the career or non-career service, including military and police personnel, whether or not they receive compensation regardless of amount. Gift refers to a thing or a right disposed of gratuitously or any act or liberality in favor of another who accepts it, and shall include a simulated sale or an ostensibly onerous disposition thereof. It shall not include an unsolicited gift of nominal or insignificant value not given in anticipation of or in exchange for a favor from a public official or employee. Receiving any gifts includes the act of accepting directly or indirectly a gift from a personal other than a member of his family or relative as defined in this act, even on the occasions of a family celebration or national festivity like Christmas, if the value of the gift is neither nominal or insignificant, or the gift is given in anticipation of or in exchange favor. Loan covers both a simple loan and commoditum as well as guarantees financing arrangements or accommodations intended to ensure its approval. Substantial stockholder means any person who owns directly or indirectly shares of stock sufficient to elect a director of corporation. This term shall also apply to the parties to a voting trust. Family of public officials or employees means their spouses and unmarried children under 18 years of age. Persons include natural and juridical persons unless the context indicates otherwise. Conflicts of interest arises when a public official or employee is a member of a board, an officer, or substantial stockholder of a private corporation or owner, or has a substantial interest in a business and the interest of such corporation or business, or his rights or duties therein may be opposed to or affected by the faithful performance of official duty. Divestment is the transfer of title or disposal of interest in property by voluntarily, completely and actually depriving or dispossessing oneself of his right or title to it in favor of a person or persons other than his spouse and relatives as defined as in this act. Relatives refers to any and all persons related to a public official or employee within the fourth civil degree of consanguinity or affinity, including bilas, onso, and balay. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
Our next speaker will tackle about the teacher's right and privilege of teachers in the Philippines. She is a dancer of different festivals such as Binatbatan and Longanisa Festival. She is also a fashion designer and choreographer. As of now, she is a teacher of special program in the arts at San Nicolas National High School. Please welcome Francesca Dacles.
Teachers' rights and privileges of teachers in the Philippines. Teachers have long been hailed as modern-day heroes in our society, way before overseas workers became honored as such. Teachers' vital role in education as well as their competence and honesty, as well as their active community involvement, are worthy of praise from the entire society that benefits from their efforts. The teacher organizations. Republic Act Number 4670. In Section 27, teacher has a freedom to organize. Public school teachers shall have the right to freely and without previous authorization both to establish and to join organizations of their choosing, whether local or national, to further and defend their interests. In Section 28, discrimination against teachers prohibited. The rights established in the immediately preceding section shall be exercised without any interference or coercion. It shall be unlawful for any person to commit any act of discrimination against teachers which are calculated to make the employment of a teacher subject to the condition that he shall not join an organization or shall relinquish membership in an organization. To cause the dismissal of our otherwise prejudiced teacher by reason of his membership in an organization or because of participation in organization activities outside school hours or with the consent of the proper school authorities within school hours, and to prevent him from carrying out the duties laid upon him by his position in the organization, or to penalize him for an action undertaken in the capacity. In Section 29, National Teachers Organizations. National Teachers Organizations shall be consulted in the formulation of national educational policies and professional standards and the formulation of national policies governing the social security of the teachers. Teachers are one of the most important and influential forces in education for fairness, access, and quality. Teachers are responsible for nurturing and shaping the future of their students as well as the society. Teachers are entitled to the state's rights and benefits since they take on the obligations of caring for their students. The state honors public schools teachers' passion, dedication, and sacrifices by allowing the Philippine flag to be dropped over their coffins. The Magna Carta for public school teachers and the Philippine Constitution of 1987 serve as a roadmap to complete security and the freedom from threats and dismissals.
Our next speaker is a holistic artist. He is a player of flute, bandurria, and numerous string instruments. He is advisor of Guild of Performing Artists of San Nicolas Cultural Troupe, also a choreographer of different festivals, a visual artist, and a theater player. He is now the OIC of Bingao National High School. Please welcome Marvin de la Cruz as he will be discussing about the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The 1987 Constitution is the utmost symbol of the Philippine statehood. It is the central institution in our political system. However, the argument to wait for the legislation of an anti-political dynasty law only benefits politicians who are standing members of the political dynasties. The Constitution was ratified by a nationwide plebiscite on February 8, 1987. The Constitution provided the three governmental powers, namely the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The executive branch is headed by the President and his appointed cabinet members. The Philippine Constitution is important because it protects our rights and enable us to have justice and live a beautiful life. It helps us also know our limitations and the right things we should do in order for us to become a good citizen. We will know how to protect ourselves from enemies. In 1987 Constitution, we have 18 articles which are the national territory, the Declaration of Principles and State Policies, the Bill of Rights, the citizenship, the suffrage, the legislative department, the executive department, the judicial department, the constitutional commission, the local government, the accountability of public officers, the national economy and patrimony, the social justice and human rights, the education, science and technology, arts, culture and sports, the family, the general provisions, the
Please
amendments
welcome
of
Jermaine
provisions,
Maginon.
and the transitory provision. The Article 1 national territory comprises the Philippine archipelago. From Article 2, we have the Declaration of Principles and State Policies, where it was emphasized that the government is to serve and protect the people. The Article 3, or the Bill of Rights, it is indicated that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. In Article 4, we have the citizenship, which has 5 sections. Section 1 are the following: those who are citizenship of the Philippines at the time of the adoption of this Constitution. Those whose fathers and mothers are citizenship of the Philippines. Section 3, we have those born before January 17, 1973 of Filipino mothers who elect Philippine citizenship upon reaching the age of majority. And last, those who are naturalized in accordance with law. In Article 5, we have suffrage, which has 2 sections, which Section 1 is being emphasized that suffrage may be exercised by all citizenship of the Philippines. In Section 2, we have the no literacy, property, or other substantive requirement shall be imposed on the exercise of suffrage. In Article 6, we have the Legislative Department, which has 32 sections. It is being emphasized that the legislative power shall be invested in the Congress of the Philippines, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. In Article 7, we have the Executive Department, which it is being indicated that the executive power shall be vested in the President of the Philippines. Also, we have no person may be elected president unless he is a natural-born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, at least 40 years of age on the day of the election, and a resident of the Philippines for at least 10 years. In Article 8, we have the Judicial Department, which has 16 sections, where it was being emphasized that the judicial power shall be invested in one Supreme Court and in such lower courts as may be as established by law. The Article 9, which has the Constitutional Commission, which is they have the Civil Service Commission, the Commission on Election, and the Commission on Audit. We have also the Article 10, which is the local government, which has 20 sections. In Section 1, we have the territorial and political subdivision of the Republic of the Philippines are the provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays. There shall be an autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao and Cordilleras. In Article 11, we have the accountability of the public officers, which has the 18th section. In Article 12, we have the national economy and patrimony, which it has a goal of the national economy are more equitable, the distribution of opportunities, income, and wealth. In Article 9, we have the social justice and human rights. In Article 19, we have the education, science and technology, arts, culture, and sports. The Article 15 is all about the family. Article 16 is all about the general provision. The Article 17 is all about the amendments or revision, which they are emphasizing that any amendments to or revision of Constitution may be proposed by the Congress. She is one of the greatest pianists of the international group. She is an artist creating rhythmic melody and also a singer from a national group, Serenata ni Ayat Choral Society. She is now a master teacher from the Nuez National High School.
The rights and privileges of teachers in the Philippines. The Republic Act No. 4670 on June 18, 1966 is the Magna Carta for public school teachers. This act is intended to promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers, their living and working conditions, their terms of employment and career prospect in order that they may compare favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of life. Attract and retain in the teaching profession more people with the proper qualifications. It being recognized that advance in education depends on the qualification and ability of a teaching staff, and that education is an essential factor in the economic growth of the nation as a productive investment of a vital importance.
He is a graduate from Mariano Marcos State University College of Teacher Education. He is now the head teacher of Bacharach Comprehensive National High School. Please welcome Johnson Dakuy.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. So I will discuss Commonwealth Act number 578. So what is Commonwealth Act number 578? An act to amend Article 152 of the revised Penal Code so as to include teachers, professors, and persons charged with the supervision of public or jury-recognized private schools, colleges, and universities within the term person in authority. In Section 1, Article 152 of Act number 3815, known as the Revised Penal Code, is amended to read as follows. Article 152, Person in Authority. Who shall be deemed as such, in applying the provisions of the presiding and other articles of this code. Any person directly vested with jurisdiction, whether as individual or as a member of some court or governmental corporation, board, or commission, shall be deemed a person in authority. In applying the provisions of Article 148 and 151 of this code, teachers and professors and persons charged with the supervision of public or jury-recognized private schools, colleges, and universities shall be deemed person in authority. In Section 2, this act shall take effect upon its approval. Enacted without executive approval, June 8, 1940. That's all. Thank you.